In this tutorial, we are going to be building a mesh and texturing the cartoony Frank character that is used for Moho tutorial 1-4 in preparation for the next video. As I mentioned in last video, I try not to ask viewers to just download things. We're going to be making our own basic Frank. So fire up Blender and let's get started. So the first thing we are going to need is a reference image of Frank, which we can get from the Moho tutorial. You want to zoom in here, Control wheel will do that. And using either the snipping tool or the equivalent Mac tool or the snapshot tool that you have in your browser, you can take that, take a picture of Frank, and we'll use this as a shape and color reference. Go ahead and hit capture and save image. Make sure you save this in the folder where you're going to be doing your setup. Call it Frank reference. There we go. Close that, and we will not be needing the tutorial anymore. So fire up Blender, go ahead and start a new general. And go ahead and go to Edit and Preferences, and once again, check and make sure that you have Node Wrangler turned on because we're going to be using it quite a bit. Node Wrangler, there we go. Also go over to our render properties, leave it on EV, 16 is just fine, and we can get started. All right, the first thing we're going to need is a brand new reference. So let's hit Shift A and go down to Image and Reference and go to where you have your reference saved, and Blender will put it in. Blender will automatically orient it to wherever the viewport is currently oriented. So go ahead and click on your brand new empty reference and go over to its object properties and go ahead and set the rotation for 90. That'll put it upright. Set the Z rotation for 0. We'll put that at 90 as well because I tend to like things to face the X direction rather than the some modelers like to face the Y direction. I like to face the X direction. I'm just kind of weird that way. And set the Y rotation for 0. And down here where it says data in red, click on that, turn on opacity, and turn it way down to like 0.15, right around there. And now go ahead and go to the X view and grab and set it up so that Frank's feet are touching the green line, which is the Y axis. And kind of put his center line along the Z-axis along the center. There we go. Now rotate a bit and hit grab and X and bring him forward so that he's in front of the cube. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Frank in front. All right, so now would be a good time to go over some of our shortcuts that we're planning to use. We're going to use G to grab, which we have already. We're going to use S to scale. We're going to use X, Y, and Z to restrict to one axis. We're going to use Shift X, Y, and Z to restrict to the off axis. And we're going to add a new thing to grab. Grab plus G allows us to restrict to the established geometry, and you'll see how that works in a minute. We're going to use Control R to loop cut, E to extrude, Shift A to add, and Control T to add mapping to a shader. Now that we have the Frank reference image here, we don't want to constantly click on it, so we want to go up here to our filter looking thing, and under the restriction toggles, turn on the arrow one, go out of that, and for that reference image, click on the disable selection, and now we can't click on it in the viewport anymore. So let's click on the cube instead, go to our X view, hit tab to go into edit mode, and hit grab and Z to bring the cube up to Frank's face. Now let's go over here to the wrench symbol, add modifier, generate subdivision surface. We've done this many times before, and let's kind of turn diagonally and right click on our cube and hit subdivide once, and this will kind of square off our cube a little bit. So now let's take this and turn on X-ray mode up here, and now drag to grab multiple points. We're in point mode, so make sure you hit 1, make sure you're in point mode. Grab a whole set of them, hit G, and bring those into Frank's face. Go to the corner here, hit G, go to the corner here, hit G, and we're just doing like a rough outline of Frank's face. Oops, that's way too strong. G, hit escape if you're still using the tool and you want to jump out of it. Hit G here, kind of bring this to more like the chin shape. Hit G on the bottom layer. Let's go just above his weird looking chin here, G. Okay, let's hit G on the center line here. It looks pretty good. Now let's go over to the side. Now Frank's face, we're kind of having to use our imagination. I kind of imagine his jawline slopes forward into to his chin, like it, you know, kind of would on an actual person. Let's just drag and select. Blip, there we go. Scale and Z just a little, and then grab and Z to bring it up. And now these back ones, we'll select them. Scale and Z, we want to shrink these a little bit more. Grab and Z, go ahead and go up. Go ahead and A to select all, and scale and X to bring it in. So let's go to the front view again, make sure this is still roughly Frank's outline. Okay, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. We want to give him a more prominent chin, so let's select this bottom one, most one, hit grab and Z, and pull it down a little bit. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and apply the subdivision surface. So tab out, go ahead and temporarily go to solid mode and hit the drop down on the subdivision and hit apply. And now this is a part of the permanent mesh. So if we hit tab, we can see the geometry has increased. Let's tab back out though, and let's introduce another subdivision surface. And let's right click on it and hit shade smooth. And now we can tab back into edit mode. And now we can make Frank look a little bit creepier. Let's start by giving him this goofy chin. So let's hit Control R to do a loop cut, and we're going to put that loop cut right here. Click, and then right click to put it in the exact center. Hit Control R again, put a loop cut right here, right click to put it in the exact center. And we're going to turn these two faces right here into his chin. So let's hit number 3 to go into face mode. Click this face, hit shift and click this other face, and hit E to extrude, and then G and Z, and we're going to pull that down. And now we're going to hit S to shrink it overall. And now we're going to select just one of them and hit E to extrude and pull that out. Hit the other one, hit E to extrude, pull that out a bit. And let's go ahead and grab Y, and let's pull that away, and select the other one, hit grab Y, pull that one away. Okay, we got a goofy looking chin now. Okay, but now we need his legs. So let's go underneath Frank here using the middle mouse button, circle around. And we are going to select these two panels right here. Let's just hit S to scale then. Make those a bit bigger because these are going to be his legs. Let's hit extrude, E to extrude, to kind of drag those out. And let's kind of, you notice that Frank's sort of pelvis is positioned quite a bit further down than that. So let's hit grab and Z and go ahead and pull that down. And we want to kind of widen it a bit. So let's go into edge mode by clicking on 2. And now we're going to use our new grab hotkey. So let's click on this line right here, hit G, and then hit G again. And this will restrict it to the established geometry. Actually, hit escape. That's not the one we want. The one we want is kind of buried under here a little bit. You'll be able to see it better if you go into wireframe mode. But if you carefully click right here, you can hit G and G. And you can pull that out to kind of make his sort of pelvis a little bit wider. And what GG does is it restricts our points and lines to the established geometry. So we'll stay in very close to the same shape. All right, now go back to 3, which is the face mode. Click on these two faces, hold down shift to select both. And let's flatten those out just a little bit. So let's hit scale and Z and bring that down. And let's hit scale and Y to widen them up just a little bit. Okay, let's go back to front view with the X. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. But let's go to edge mode with 2. Let's click on this edge and hit GG to bring it up a little bit. Click on that edge on the opposite side. GG to bring that up as well. Okay, now we go 3 into face mode. Let's pull out a leg. Let's select this particular pane here and go back to the front mode. And now we're going to draw Frank's legs. So let's hit E to extrude, drag that out to about here, and then hit grab to position it more precisely. And now we're going to add 2 segments for the knees. Let's hit extrude again. Get that right there. This is a little off. let's hit 2 to go into edge mode. Select the edge, hit GG, and we can drag that up to where we actually want it. All right, let's go ahead and hit number 3 to get back into face select mode, and let's hit scale and Z. We're going to flatten this out a little bit. Okay, now grab it, bring it underneath the knee, and let's rotate it. Now let's leave it like that. Leave it like that, actually. Now we hit extrude and kind of snap the extrude down there, and then grab, bring it over, and then rotate it. Hit R to rotate. Now extrude again to bring it, and this will kind of form our the base of our ankle. Hit 2 to go to loop, to go to edge mode. Select this loop using the Alt key. Scale it down a bit, and then grab it and bring it here to the base of the ankle. All right, I'm going to go back to 3 to go to face mode. Select the front face. We're going to turn that into our foot. Hit extrude, and then grab to orient it correctly, and R to rotate. And now we'll go to the back foot. Select that face, go back to X, hit extrude again, and that will make our ankle. Now you notice this leg kind of fattens up a little bit as you get close to the ankle. You can see it start to stretch out a bit. So what we're going to do here is we're going to hit Control R to make 2, roll the mouse wheel up once, and that'll make 2 loop cuts. And then click, and then right click, and it'll position them exactly where you want them, exactly where, in the spaces in between these. And use Alt to select this loop and grab, bring that back, and use Alt to select this loop and grab, bring that back as well. And maybe actually rotate this one. Alt click to select the entire loop, grab, bring it up a little bit so we follow the shape of Frank a little bit better. So hit 3 to go back into face mode, select a face, go back to X, hit extrude, stretch it down, and then grab, set it here, hit scale Z, and then rotate. And now hit extrude to do the knee and rotate there. And then grab to position that. Extrude again, bring that down here. Grab, rotate, extrude again. Hit 2 to go into edge mode. Select this edge using the Alt key. Grab, bring that back up where it belongs. There we go. That's better. Okay. So 3 to go into face mode, select this face, and we'll do the heel. Extrude the heel. I accidentally hit rotate there. Go over here, select that face, extrude to bring out the foot. We're not going to do the toes yet. Now hit Control R, loop forward with the mouse, click, and then right click with the mouse, and then use Alt to select these loops, scale them down. Then grab and position, Alt to select, scale, grab, and position. Okay, now we need some knobby knees. So let's hit 3 to go into face select mode, hit this face, E to extrude, just pull that out a little bit, and now go into 2 to select edges, select the top edge, and G to restrict, and then the bottom edge, G to restrict, and this will make us some knobby knees. Let's go over here, hit 3, select the face, E to extrude, pull it out just a little bit, 2 to select edges, select the top edge, GG, drag it down just a little bit, bottom edge, GG, drag it up just a little bit. Now we got some knobby knees. Nice. Now let's go to side view by clicking on Y over here and go into X-ray mode, clicking this button here. And let's select the entirety, very carefully select the entirety of Frank's legs. Try not to select anything in his head. And hit S to scale and X to restrict the X-axis, and we're going to make his legs a little bit thicker. Go out of X-ray mode and take a look. Click off. That looks a lot better. Now Frank needs toes. So we're going to hit Control R. We're going to make a loop cut. We're going to put a loop cut right here. And this is going to loop all the way around the body in both directions. Let's click and then right click to set it in the precise center. Hit 3 to go into face select mode. Select this face. E to extrude, pull that out. Grab to reposition. Click this face, E to extrude, pull it out. Grab to reposition. Let's go over to the other side. Do the same thing with the other foot. Extrude, grab, and grab. All right, we got a basic Frank shape. We hit tab to go back into object mode. It's not bad. It's not too bad at all. But Frank needs hair. Let's give Frank something resembling hair, I should say. Now that we're here, let's hit Control S, and we will call this Frank model, and save that where you want. So now, like I said, Frank needs some hair. So let's select the faces where we think we would put hair. Go into 1 to go into point mode. And maybe select this point. And here's a good shortcut. Control + on the number pad. So we hit that, and what it does is it expands the selection. Hit it again, further expands. One more time, I'd say. So we'll call this section Frank's hair. Let's hold down Shift, and let's take away that one and that one by holding down Shift and selecting them. So this will be the template for Frank's hair. So let's hit P. What this shortcut does is allows us to deparent and separate things. So let's hit by selection, and you'll notice that Blender now makes a second cube based upon the first. And this cube, what's great about it is it inherits all of the subdivision, any modifier that you have in the original, and on top of that, it inherits the origin point. So let's hit tab to go out of that mode. Let's rename our original cube F2 to Frank body, and our new cube F2, rename that Frank hair. Now this isn't quite as much definition for hair as the original Frank has, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the subdivision surface here, and we're going to go, let's go back into object mode, hit tab to go into object mode, and drop down, we're going to hit apply. Blip. And now when we tab into his hair, you notice there's a lot more definition. So let's go hit 3 to go into face select mode. Let's pick one, and then hold down Shift and pick a couple of others here and there just for fun. And these are going to be the spiky parts of Frank's hair that just kind of stick up here and there. Let's go on the back too. All right, maybe one near the outer edge and one in front. All right, let's hit E to extrude, and we can bring all those up. And now we can select them one at a time, shrink them down. Using S to shrink them down. Let's pick a couple of them and just point them in some fun directions. So let's pick the top of this one, just hit grab, pull it in a funny direction. Grab, funny direction. Make sure you select the top, grab, funny direction. Grab, funny direction. This one, grab, funny direction. This one. Do some interior ones. Remember, Frank's hair goes all over the place. Now for the ones that we didn't rotate, let's hit Control R and let's add a loop cut to each one. And now let's grab the top. Button 3, make sure that we're in face mode. Grab, and this will make like just curvy-ish hair. Because Frank's hair is wild. All right, Frank's got some wild hair now. Hit tab to go out. You can see what it looks like. Now, since the hair is going to be a lot easier to work with, let's just go ahead and add a basic black to it right now. So let's go in here. Let's rename the material to, let's add a new material actually, +, add a new material, hit new, call it hair black, and go to the previous material, hit - to remove it. So hair black, base color, just hit the base color, turn it real dark. And you won't be able to see it, make sure you've turned on material preview. There we go. Now we can see it. Maybe raise the roughness if you want duller hair, lower it if you want shiny hair, but we probably want dull hair, so let's go ahead and bring it down. And just for fun, under sheen, set the tint for kind of like a gray and a little bit of white. What this will do is the outer edge of Frank's hair will have a slightly different color than the more interior edges. Okay. And this is a good time to Control Save. Make sure you save your work. Now we're gonna, instead of using a normal shader, we're actually going to use a texture on Frank's body. So let's click on Frank's body here. And for now, For the the reference image, go ahead and shut it off in hide in viewport by clicking the eyeball next to it right up here. All right, let's click on Frank. Let's go to shader and let's hit plus to add a new one. Hit new, and this will be Frank texture. And remove the material. So it should just be Frank texture. And now we're going to show you a little bit of UV unwrapping. So we go to the UV editing tab up here at the top. And this brings us into 2View. I can zoom in here. I can zoom on both of them. So over here we have kind of the UV mapping, which hasn't been established yet. And over here we have Frank and his mesh. So we hit all to select all of Frank's mesh. And this is the current UV map of Frank's mesh. And it's a little uneven. If you were to actually draw on this as you move from spot to spot, Frank would get very... the spots might turn to streaks, they might turn to ovals. It would look kind of weird. Also, let's go back to layout just 1 second, hit tab. Let's give Frank a little more definition along his thighs. Let's hit Control R, mouse wheel, click and right click, and hit Control R, mouse wheel, right click, left click to add a few more segments to Frank's legs. Okay, let's go back to UV editing. Sorry about that. Now hit A to select all, and we're going to unwrap Frank's body in a different way. So let's go up to UV here, and let's choose Smart UV Project. Leave everything default right now, and hit Unwrap. Now all these pieces appear, which actually, if you especially look at the bottom here, hey, wait, these pieces, they kind of look like Frank's legs. Well, yes, they are Frank's legs. Basically what happened is, if you were to use an image instead of a shader, instead of like a procedurally generated shader, this is how the distribution of pixels would appear on Frank's body. Now, let me hit 3 to go into face face selection mode. Frank's face is going to be right around here. So I click on that, and you can see that right here. We want to be able to put spots on Frank, but we also want a good looking face. So here's what we're going to do. Again, let's hit A to select all. Our idea is, so this is where Frank's face is, this section here. You can see the selection here. You can see the selection here. Our goal is to arrange these pieces so that we can get this section here with Frank's face a bit bigger because we want more definition for the face. So the Control Plus button is a real help with this. So let's select the legs. We can pick one pixel on it, hit Control Plus until the whole thing is selected. Very easy. And now hit R to rotate, and this is one thing we can do. And then grab, and we can put the legs as close together as we can. And I hope you like Tetris, because that is kind of what we're going to be playing right now. So let's pick out some pieces that we can like put on the outside of the legs, around the legs, that sort of thing. I think this piece, we can hit G to grab, we can pull down here. That'll fit in there as well. You can grab this piece and bring it all the way down. Now the size of these pieces right now are proportional to the size of the pieces on Frank's body. So little pieces on Frank's body are going to be little pieces here as well. There are other ways to unwrap a figure, however we're going to do it this way, because this will just kind of show you one way you can do it. Let's see here. Let's find some other pieces. I like this tall piece here. Give it over here. We've got a lot of unused space in here. Like that. Let's see. This piece would probably fit. Oh, there's actually several pieces. That's perfect. We've got a lot of big areas. You can also select multiple pieces like this, and just hit Control Plus to complete the block, put them together. So these are tiny pieces I can do together. Control Plus to just grab them all, and I'm going to fit that down there. That's nice. All right, this piece. I wonder, no, it's not going to fit right there. So there, that's okay. Actually, there. Let me see. Grab, put that there. Now, one thing I do want to check is where is the back of Frank's head. So I'm going to click on one of those pieces. So this is Frank's head over here. The back of Frank's head. So I'm going to hit Control plus until I have the whole thing selected. Now we're not going to put any spots there. So I can take that and, let me hit escape here right quick. So let me select all of that. I can take that scale and I can shrink that way down because we're not going to put any spots there. So really all that space needs is just some color. Well, some of these are teeny tiny pieces. Grab some more. Okay. Let's put the face up here and put this piece off to the side. There we go. Now, bring that like that. Grab, put it here. Maybe turn it diagonally, we get a little more different. Hit S to scale, and we want this big. When the pieces are big, it means we're giving it more of the texture map. When pieces are small, it means we're giving it less. So we want a lot on the face, average along everywhere else, because we're going to be putting spots on this guy. Okay, hit Control S to save. Now let's go to shading. Make sure that you are on Frank Texture. So for this, we're going to hit Shift A, going to hit Search, Image. This is really simple. Image Texture. Connect color to the base color. Now we're going to click on the image texture. We're going to hit Control T and make sure UV is connected to vector over here. Hit New to create a new one, and this will be Frank Body Texture. Leave it default 1024 by 1024. We'll just use that for now. Set the default color. We'll leave it at black for now. Hit New Image. Make sure color space is set for sRGB. It usually is by default, but it is possible to do a non-sRGB version. And now we're going to go into Texture Paint. Now before we start texture painting, go up here to Image and hit Save, because you notice Frank Body Texture hasn't been saved yet. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's turn our empty back on. Let's go back to layout for just 1 second. We're going to position this where we can reference colors from it. Let's turn Frank, the empty back on, and turn selection on. Go ahead and select it. Go ahead and go to data. Go ahead and turn opacity all the way back up again. Now grab and move it to the side. And grab X and move it so it's right beside the Frank body. That way we can reference it for color. I'm going to put the face right next to the face. That'll make it real easy. Nice. Okay, now we can go over to Texture Paint. Click on Frank, click on Tab to go into edit mode, and now we can paint Frank. So let's start with the purple. Let's hit our color up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a one giant fill to start with the purple color. So let's hit this color here, and using the eyedropper, go ahead and click on our Frank image. That'll change it to that sort of lavender. Go ahead and darken it just a little bit, because maybe a little more vibrantly, a little more darker. There we go. Because remember, this image here is inheriting a little bit of the background. It's partly transparent. So we're set to fill. Go ahead and click there, and Frank's entire body will turn purple. Isn't that great? Now, we're not going to be painting on here anymore. We still going to be painting on here a little bit, but most part we're going to be painting on here. So, going over here, make sure we are on Texture Paint here in the drop-down. Let's zoom in on Frank, and let's do Frank's face first. Let's go to X, zoom in, and you can actually shrink the Texture Paint over here a little bit so you get a little more room. There we go. Okay. So let's set it for, let's go down here under Fill, let's set to Paint Hard. Let's set it for black, and we're going to do the outlines of the mouth, eyes, and teeth. Now the radius should be small. This should be like 3. And maybe 4. Let's go ahead and set it for 4. And now what we're going to do is we're going to draw directly on Frank's body. We got it set for black, so let's do sort of a silly looking eye. And let's do the adjacent eye, which is portrayed as being underneath. I don't like that one. Hit Control Z to undo that. And make sure to seal up these lines. So we'll do the rough outline of the eyelid over here, and one over here as well. And then a loop over the eyelid. Nice and cartoony. And a loop over here as well. Now let's draw the mouth outline. Frank has a silly grin. And now the teeth. Now we're going to switch to the fill tool, but the problem is we can't use the fill tool here. It'll just spill everything. So we use the fill tool over here. So let's go ahead and hit the block here. And using the eyedropper, let's pick out the eye color. Fill in the eyes. Color up here. Eyedropper, pick out the green. Fill in the green. Eyedropper up here, pick out the lip, fill in the lip, back to the eyedropper, pick out the tooth, fill in the teeth. Now go from fill back to hard paint and color back to black. And radius, go ahead and hold shift and you can expand that kind of slowly, bring it up to 12. And give Frank his goofy eyes. All right, now Frank needs some spots. Let's go back up here to our eye picker and choose his spots. And now we'll start at 12. Just pick spots to add. You can put spots on curved surfaces, on the side of his head, wherever you want. And of course, remember to change the size of the spots. Let's go from 12 down to, say, 9. Hold down shift for fine adjustment. Now watch what happens when you try to put one on the back of his head. Because remember, we shrank that in the UV unwrap. So it turns very pixelated because, like I said, we shrank it. But we're not going to be putting spots there. When you're satisfied with Frank's spots, go ahead and hit Control-C to S to save. And remember to go over to Image and save your image as well. So let's go back to Layout. And let's turn off our reference. And let's go over here to Rendered View. And we've got a Frank. Click off of him to get a better view so he's not outlined in orange. But hey, check it out. We have a Frank. So that's it for this video. I will upload the next video very shortly where we actually rig Frank. But for now, we are all set to go to start tutorial 1-4. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit like. I definitely appreciate it. And happy animating.